Hello, everyone, and welcome to the New Year's Bowls preview show. We've got some games to recap from over the weekend, and then we'll be looking at all the bowl games today, tomorrow, and on Thursday, including those college football playoff quarterfinal contests. Please do subscribe if you haven't already, as it really does help us out. And if you like the content, we cover college sports right here on the ONIT channel. If you stick around to the end of the show, we'll tell you how you can get involved and potentially be in one of our upcoming videos. Let's get it started, though, by taking a look at what's in the box.
What's in the box?
Our New Year's Bowl box features our locally sourced but nationally relevant headlines for all of our ONIT teams that either took part in a bowl over the weekend or playing this week across the 3 days. We'll also be taking a look at some players that could be on Slab Watch in the upcoming bowl games and college football playoffs, and we'll give you the checklist for New Year's Day. That way you know exactly what to be watching and who to be looking for while you hang out and celebrate 2026. We'll begin by looking at the games that were played over the weekend. First up on Saturday, we had Penn State taking on Clemson in the Pinstripe Bowl from Yankee Stadium. It was bitterly cold for this game. There's a reason that most of the bowl games are in the South or in warm weather climates, because this game was bitterly cold. Big snowfall the night before in New York City, and then you had just cold winter weather whipping through Yankee Stadium. But Penn State managed to pull it out 22-10 over Clemson. Big win for the Nittany Lions. I talked about Kaytron Allen potentially having the backfield to himself in this game. Well, that did not materialize because Kaytron Allen did not play. He was apparently nursing a hamstring injury. That kept him out of this ball game. So we did not get to see Kaytron Allen, but what we did see was a very solid game by Ethan Gronkmeyer. He found his way through the air to rack up over 260 yards, 23 of 34 through the air, 260 yards, and then 2 touchdowns for Gronkmeyer with no interceptions. It was a game that didn't feature a whole lot of scoring through the first 3 quarters. In fact, it was only 6-3 by the time the third quarter had ended. But 2 touchdowns late in the game for Penn State helped them pull away and secure a 7-6 season. When you look back at the year for Penn State, I don't think anybody really thought that they were going to get to 7-6. So to win their final 4 games of the year the way they did, to win the final 3 just to become bowl eligible, and then take down Clemson, who had a very disappointing season based on their expectations, that was a great win for Penn State. So a fun way to end the year for the Nittany Lions. Congratulations to them on the victory. And now they're going to have a lot of players who are looking for the NFL. So we'll see who declares for the NFL draft. But this is a team that is still loaded with talent. Expect to see a lot of them contributing on Sundays, and with the new head coach next year, it'll be fun to see how they do and if they can get back to the play. Our other 2 bowl games on Saturday saw Missouri taking on Virginia in the Gator Bowl, and then LSU taking on Houston in the Texas Bowl. Unfortunately, for both of our ONIT teams, they were not able to pull out victories in those contests. In Missouri's case, they took a 7-0 lead in the first quarter, and then it was a complete flatline on the offensive end. Big credit to Virginia's defense. I talked about how I wasn't sure if they were going to get up for this game or not. They were definitely up for this game. Virginia made it very difficult for Missouri to move the football. In fact, Missouri at one point in this game went 30 minutes of game time, more than 30 minutes of actual in-game time between first downs. I mean, that's incredible stuff from Virginia. Third down stops galore for the Cavaliers. They win this game 13-7 as Missouri falls. Looks like Ahmad Hardy will be back next year, though, so a lot of optimism there for the Tigers. One of the best running backs in the country is set to return, and that will be something to watch. See if they pick up a quarterback potentially in the portal with Bo Perbula leaving, and Missouri could run it back and potentially be dangerous in the SEC. For LSU, like I said in the preview video, didn't really matter if they won or lost because a whole new era is going to start next year. They kept it close. We saw the best game from Michael Van Buren that he's played, in my opinion, this season, ever since he took over for Garrett Nussmeier. Van Buren was awesome in this game, slinging the ball, only missed 10 passes, 16 of 26 for 267 yards and 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. 2 of those went to Trey'Dez Green. But defensively, with all the opt-outs, no Mansour Delane, no Harold Perkins Jr., and then Whit Weeks missed this game. He'd been dealing with a leg injury all season long, so he wasn't available for this game. You're missing 3 of your best defensive players. You can understand why LSU gave up a bundle of points to Houston, and in the end, the offense just couldn't overcome that. But it'll be a clean slate next year. In 2026, Lane Kiffin is taking over. How many players are going to come in from Ole Miss, to LSU? We'll see, but the Lane Kiffin era will begin following this loss in the Texas Bowl. But if you're an LSU fan, I don't think this really dampens your spirits because the new regime is coming and you are going to be excited trying to get back to the playoff and trying to get back to winning national championships. So we'll see what LSU does next season. Let's jump into our games that are going to be played over the next 3 days.
Starting off with our games tonight here on Tuesday evening, December 30th, we've got 2 ONIT teams in action. Tennessee against Illinois. We'll kick it off at 5:30 from Nissan Stadium in Nashville. We've got the Music Bowl coming to us from Nashville, of course. Tennessee, basically a home game for them, just a few hours down the road from Knoxville. They get an Illinois team that had some important opt-outs, a couple of all Big Ten players opt out, including an offensive lineman. Tennessee dealing with opt-out issues of their own. No Chris Brazzell, who is the SEC's leading receiver. And then a number of names on the defensive side for Tennessee are also going to miss this game. So we expect it to be a shootout, is what that means. We'll see how many points get put up on the board here in this one. It's a 5:30 kickoff from Nashville on ESPN. That's 5:30 Eastern time. So, again, expecting a lot of points in this game. Will that come to fruition? Don't know. Joey Aguilar will be playing, though, for Tennessee. He's been amazing through the air. So, if anytime he's on the field, no matter who he's throwing to, I expect Tennessee to put up points. And so, I'm going to take Tennessee to win this one. They've got Aguilar there, and, he, no matter who he has to throw to or who's running the ball behind him, he's found the way this year to move the chains for Tennessee. So I think they get into the end zone a bunch, and I think Tennessee manages to put up a lot of points in this game and outduel Illinois. On the other side, we have USC taking on TCU in the Alamo Bowl. This is, once again, almost a home game for TCU. Pretty close there to Fort Worth in San Antonio. It's a longer drive than Tennessee has, but they're a lot closer than USC. So USC comes in without their 2 best wide receivers in Mekhi Lemon and Jacoby Lane. Jade Mayaba is still going to be slinging the rock for the Trojans, but who is he going to throw it to? That is the question. Lake McCree also opted out, the amazing tight end. Lane, Lemon, and McCree all potentially getting ready for the NFL draft, so that is why they are not playing in this game. Makes Jade Mayaba's life a lot more difficult with all 3 of his best weapons out behind him. So we'll see how it goes for USC. It's another case where, guys are going to the draft, and so they're not playing in games that aren't the playoffs at the moment, or at least maybe the prestigious bowls. So USC will be down a lot of their best pass catchers. See how that affects them. It's a 9 p.m. Eastern kick tonight, Tuesday night, from San Antonio. Looking forward to watching that one and seeing how Mayaba can potentially overcome the loss of his best receiving targets.
Time to take a look at our bowl games that are coming up on New Year's Eve. We're only looking at the bowl games here. We'll talk about the playoffs a little bit later all together. But first, we have Arizona State taking on Duke. That'll be a 2 p.m. Eastern time kickoff on CBS. The Sun Bowl, they're in El Paso, Texas. This is an interesting one. Arizona State without Sam Leavitt. He got injured in the middle of the season. He really came back to spoil Texas Tech's undefeated season and then never played again. So pretty funny there by Leavitt to ruin the Red Raiders' undefeated season. But he will not be playing in this game. He's also announced that he plans to transfer from Arizona State. So we won't be seeing any more Sam Leavitt at Arizona State, which means Jeff Sims will still be the quarterback for the Sun Devils as they take on the ACC champion Duke, 8-5 Duke. A lot has been said about their path to the ACC championship, how they won the tiebreaker to get in to that championship, and then they defeated Virginia, effectively ruining the ACC's opportunity to get their conference champion into the playoffs. So instead, Duke is in the Sun Bowl against Arizona State. This should be an interesting matchup. You know, this is a Duke team that has some really dynamic playmakers on the offensive side of the ball. Arizona State is going to be missing their key playmakers, Jordan Tyson, first-round wide receiver talent in the NFL. He's off to the draft. I talked about Levitt, a couple of defense opt-outs for Arizona State, too. That's just college football bowl games in 2025. I could say this for every team. So it'll be a lot of guys trying to step up on both sides. Seeing how that affects both teams will certainly be something to watch. And then it's been really hot in Texas. We'll see how hot it is for this game if it stays, if the weather stays the way it has. But it was like over 80 degrees in December. So if that's the case there in El Paso, fatigue could certainly be a factor after a very long season and then going into the heat. The guys from Phoenix should be prepared for that. Duke is obviously in a more moderate climate as well, but just the unrelenting heat could make some of these guys that haven't played that much during the season, it could make them susceptible to fatigue, and we'll see how that impacts either team. Either way, should be a fun game. Then you have Nebraska against Utah. This is another bowl game that's very interesting. Of course, Kyle Whittingham left Utah. He's going to Michigan to be their new head coach. He will not be coaching in this game, which is the Las Vegas Bowl from Allegiant Stadium, home of the Raiders. There in Vegas. 3:30 kickoff on ESPN Eastern Time. Nebraska versus Utah. Emmett Johnson has declared for the NFL draft for Nebraska. Dylan Raiola has been out with his lower body injury. So the backfield will not be intact for this game. Raiola's been gone for a while, though, so that's nothing new for Nebraska. But this is a really good Utah team, only 2 losses on the year. They had a very impressive comeback against Kansas State earlier on this season that helped them stay in the playoff race. Ultimately, they did not end up making the playoffs, but this is a Utah team that has a lot of talent. It's a Nebraska team that has a lot of talent. Nebraska, who looked like they were on pace for a 10-win season before things collapsed with Raiola going down, especially that loss against USC where Nebraska collapsed after the injury. That was a big shifting point in the season for the Cornhuskers. They'd love to end their season with a bowl win. Again, with the turmoil around Utah, the coach leaving. I mean, Whittingham was going out regardless, but the fact that he took a new job at Michigan, and now it sounds like players and staff may be headed there with him, according to the rumor mill. We'll see how Utah responds if they are fully focused on their opponent in front of them. But 3:30 kickoff, ESPN, should be fun. Now let's talk about the last game of the day.
We've got an ONIT versus ONIT matchup coming our way on New Year's Eve, 3 p.m. on ABC in the Citrus Bowl from Camping World Stadium. It'll be 2 blue bloods, Texas and Michigan, meeting up for just the 3rd time between the 2 programs. Crazy with how long that they have existed and been at the upper echelon of college football, that they've only played 2 times before, the last coming in 2024 where Michigan defeated Texas. They're scheduled to play in 2027. This could be maybe a little preview of that. It's a quarterback matchup that is supremely exciting to get to watch. Arch Manning on one side for Texas, Bryce Underwood on the other side. 2 guys, young guys, who are trying to still find their footing really at the college level. Both of them had solid seasons, but there's certainly a lot to be gained for them playing, especially against defenses of these calibers, and getting some experience, getting some more reps. So watching Manning and Underwood battle one another is awesome. We talked about Michigan hiring Kyle Whittingham. That's, of course, because they had the surprise departure of their head coach. Came out of nowhere, really, for most people. It was kind of a shock. And so Michigan recovering from that, going into the bowl game, trying to finish a season with 10 wins. Texas wants to get 10 wins as well on the year. Both teams are 9-3. Texas certainly has a little bit of a gripe that they missed the playoff. They had 3 losses, though. It's hard to say that you're a playoff team when you lose 3 games, or hard to say that you were left out when you lose 3 games. So they find themselves in this Citrus Bowl looking to take down Michigan. Really fun matchup. 2 premier names in college football, hoping for a great fan turnout down there as well. And just should be a very entertaining battle to watch. The chess match between the coordinators, between the defense and the quarterbacks. Which quarterback can be the mistake-free, less turnover-prone? That is going to be one of the big deciders on who wins this ball game. And it's coming to us on New Year's Eve at 3 o'clock in the afternoon Eastern time. Can't wait to watch it. But we've also got college football playoff games to talk about. And let's talk about our game of the week. Our game of the week features another matchup between ONIT squads. We've got number 9 Alabama against number 1 Indiana in the Rose Bowl. What a game this should be. College football playoff quarterfinal game between the undefeated Indiana Hoosiers and the team that has dominated college football over the last decade and a half in the Alabama Crimson Tide. Of course, for the Crimson Tide, it's been a new look under head coach Kalen DeBoer compared to all the titles they won with Nick Saban. But regardless, Alabama finds themselves back in the college football playoff, on the verge of reaching the semifinals as they've done so many times before. It's really impressive, what Alabama's been able to do, especially this season. Ty Simpson at the helm. He's been one of the chief masterminds of why Alabama's been able to make it this far. You look at the game against Oklahoma, they go down 17-0. Simpson, not worried, gets helped out by his defense and his special teams with a pick 6 and then a fumble recovery on a punt that sets up Alabama with 10 points. But from the point where the Crimson Tide were down 17-0, they went on and outscored Oklahoma 34-7 over the rest of the game. A lot of that has to do with the composure of Ty Simpson. He's just been cool, calm, collected for most of the season. Rarely been rattled. There have been a few occasions where teams have got to him. This Indiana defense could get to him. It's a unit that has been exceptionally strong this year, and they don't allow a whole lot of passing yards and passing touchdowns. For a team like Alabama that struggles to run the football, that could be problematic for them. So Ty Simpson is going to have to be at his best, and they're really going to need to get something out of Jam Miller in the running game if they want to have success in this football game. Meanwhile, for Indiana, Fernando Mendoza, the Heisman Trophy winner, he's had plenty of big moments all season long. When Indiana's needed him to step up, he has provided for them. Games against Oregon, Iowa, Penn State, Ohio State. This is a team that is battle-tested. Mendoza leading the charge in a number of those comeback wins. And if he gets help from his defense, like he did in the Big Ten Championship, like he did in the wins against Oregon, against Penn State, this is a defense that's barely giving up more than 20 points as their highest point total allowed this season. So if Mendoza gets a little bit of help, Omar Cooper Jr. is going to be back for this game and fully healthy. Alabama could be in a lot of trouble, and Indiana could run away with this game because the Hoosiers have really ran away from everybody that they played this year outside of Ohio State, where they won a 3-point victory, and then Iowa. Every other game has been rather dominant for the Hoosiers. We'll see if that trend continues and if they can advance, but the Rose Bowl is coming our way, 4 p.m. Eastern Time, ESPN, on New Year's Day, as we take a look at the other 3 quarterfinal contests. Our other college football playoff game sees one other ONIT team participating. This is a New Year's Eve game on the 31st at 7:30 p.m. We've got Ohio State and Miami. Miami had to squeak past Texas A&M in a 10-3 defensive struggle in College Station. Miami did go on the road, though, there to Texas and win that game. Now they have to go right back to Texas. Hopefully they stayed there, honestly, because that travel would be pretty ridiculous. But either way, Miami's going back to Texas for the Cotton Bowl from AT&T Stadium there just outside of Dallas and taking on an Ohio State team that has only suffered 1 loss all year at the hands of Indiana in the Big Ten Championship game. This is an Ohio State team that won the national championship a year ago with Ryan Day at the helm. This year, they've got a few new pieces, including a first-year starter quarterback in Julian Sayin, who's been phenomenal. And it's hard to say that Ohio State would be anything other than the favorites in this game. It's Julian Sayin versus Carson Beck, youth versus experience, but the Ohio State defense is extremely experienced. Guys like Davison Igbinosun, Caleb Downs, Caden Curry, Harvell Reese, game changers on the defensive side of the ball for Ohio State, could make Carson Beck live a very tough life there in Jerry World on New Year's Eve night. So it's a 7:30 ESPN Eastern Time kickoff for the first round, or the first game of the college football quarterfinal coming our way. Will be fun to watch for sure, but I think Ohio State is going to get it done, especially if Beck turns the ball over, which he was able to not do against Texas A&M. But this Ohio State defense, as great as A&M's defense is, Ohio State's defense is even better. So might be a tough day for Carson Beck and the rest of that Miami offense. The other two playoff games come to us on New Year's Day. At noon, we have Oregon taking on Texas Tech. They're on ESPN. Insane travel for the Ducks as they have to go to Florida from Eugene. Not an easy trip to get down there to the Orange Bowl for the Ducks, who would have to do it a second time. If they win this game, win the semifinal, and go to the national championship, they would have to go back to Hard Rock Stadium to play for the national championship in Miami. We'll see whether the Ducks come out fatigued or not, but this is a game where it's a great offense against a great defense. Oregon's getting healthier. They've got the tools, especially on the offensive side of the ball, to win it all this year. But can the offense overcome the amazing defense led by Jacob Rodriguez and Texas Tech? And can the Texas Tech offense do enough to put points on the board if their defense can get some stops to win this game? Those are the questions for our game at noon. And then our night game is Ole Miss against Georgia on New Year's Day in the Sugar Bowl. Coming to us from the Caesars Superdome there in New Orleans. Pretty short travel for both of these teams, for Ole Miss and for Georgia. In the regular season, Georgia won this game. It was really close. Gunnar Stockton and Trinidad Chambliss dueled it out. Both teams put up over 40 points in the game. Can the offenses continue that streak in this game? I'll tell you, I don't think so. Georgia's defense has gotten a lot better. Ole Miss has lost one of the best play callers in the country in the form of Lane Kiffin, headed to LSU. I don't see Ole Miss putting up 40 points on Georgia again. It is hard to beat a team twice, though, so Georgia could have their hands full with Ole Miss. They will definitely have adjustments, specifically, I would think, on the defensive side to try to slow down Gunnar Stockton. But the Georgia defense all year long has just gotten better and better and better. Kirby Smart is just a CEO when it comes to getting the most out of his players. He's an exceptional leader. And Georgia's a team, too, that very much could win it all this year. There's a lot of teams that have the potential to go all the way. Georgia versus Ole Miss, whoever advances out of this game will be very interesting to see. But either way, I think either of these teams could certainly win this one. There's no clear favorite to me, even with the loss of Lane Kiffin for Ole Miss. But I think that Georgia defense might be the X factor in this game. If they come out the way they did against Alabama, it is going to be very tough for Ole Miss to get any sort of offensive consistency going in this game. So I think the Dogs advance here, but who knows? We'll see. That's why they play the games. And speaking of playing the games, let's talk about some players who might make impacts over the course of this week as we look at our Slab Watch. This is Slab Watch, where we talk about the players who could have the biggest impacts over the course of the weekend. This week, we've got midweek games where we're taking a look at these players who are on Slab Watch. And we'll dive right in, talk about Joey Aguilar for Tennessee. Not opting out of this bowl game, Aguilar will be on the field against Illinois. He has been fantastic this year. He has slung the ball all over the place. I've talked about him as one of my favorite quarterbacks from this year's class. He's just been exceptional. Every time I watch Aguilar highlights, he's standing in the pocket, delivering the ball on time, finding open receivers, and against an Illinois team that didn't really have much to do in the secondary this year. They were torched by a couple of different players. including Mekhi Lemon in that game that USC lost to them. I think Aguilar could find ways to exploit this Illinois secondary and get himself slabbed up on Sunday, potentially make the grade. So that is why Joey Aguilar gets on Slab Watch for this week as he plays tonight in the Music City Bowl. Next up, let's check out the defensive side of the ball. Next three players are all going to be in the college football playoff. We'll begin with Ohio State's Caleb Downs. They play on New Year's Eve, and Caleb Downs might be ringing in the new year with a bump in his draft stock. Downs is already one of the best safeties in the country. He gets a Carson Beck-led Miami team where Beck has been shaky when it comes to the turnovers at different points this season. He held onto the ball against Texas A&M, but can he hold onto the ball against Ohio State? The pass rush is phenomenal. Downs is the leader of this secondary. He makes sure everybody is in the right position. Ryan Day basically called him the quarterback of the defense. He's the guy who's getting everybody correctly aligned. And when there is chaos, he is the guy that they turn to. So expecting Caleb Downs to have a huge game as he leads one of the best defenses in the country. That's why he is on Slab Watch. We'll go back to the offensive side of the ball. The Heisman Trophy winner had to be on here. Of course, it's Fernando Mendoza, who is on Slab Watch for Indiana in their game against Alabama. Mendoza has been the catalyst for Indiana's impressive comeback victories this season. And to me, if Indiana's going to win this game, it's going to be because Fernando Mendoza plays well. I just don't see a world where Indiana can win this ball game against an Alabama team with all the talent that they have without getting great production from their star quarterback. So Mendoza is going to have to step up if the Hoosiers want to win this game and advance to the semifinal, take the monkey off their back of that playoff loss from last year. So that is why Fernando Mendoza ends up on this week's Slab Watch. And lastly, we go back to the defensive side of the ball because we love NIL for all here at ONIT. And we're going to talk about the player opposing Mendoza on the opposite side, Zabian Brown. His pick six against Oklahoma was the spark plug that Bama needed to get the Crimson Tide back into the game and help them win on the road in Norman. If Brown can find a way to confuse Mendoza in the same vein that he confused John Mateer, Mendoza could be in for a long day. And Brown this season has had a number of interceptions that he's taken back to the house. Could he get one on Mendoza? If he does, could be a massive shift in the game and a pivotal swinging point or a play that you look back on and say that is why Alabama and the Crimson Tide won the game if they do. So that's why Zabian Brown makes his way onto Slab Watch for the week. Let's take a look at this week's checklist and tell you what games you should be watching on New Year's Day, along with some names to keep an eye on. This is the checklist, all the games and names that you should be watching on New Year's Day in the three windows. Started off with that early window game between Oregon and Texas Tech. Should be a very entertaining ball game to watch there at noon. Then you've got Alabama versus Indiana, our ONIT game of the week. And at night, Ole Miss takes on Georgia with Bryce Underwood, Ty Simpson, Jaden Mayava, Davison Igbinosun, and Edwin Spillwin. Some names that you should be keeping an eye on going into this week of football. Again, we've got games tonight on Tuesday, more games throughout the day on Wednesday on New Year's Eve, and then, of course, the three playoff games on New Year's Day. Should make for a very exciting week of football. We're going to be back on Friday to recap it all, take a look at who had the best performances, who's moving on in the college football playoff, and everything you need to know going into the college football playoff semifinals. Hope you'll join us there. If you haven't already, please do hit the subscribe button as it does help us out and it makes sure that you don't miss any of our upcoming videos, especially if you hit that bell button to get notified when we post a new video. We cover everything here at ONIT when it comes to the college landscape, as we are about collecting fans and athletes through team-based collectibles. And the best way to do that is to get you folks involved. If you're watching the video and want to share your ONIT pulls with us, we'd love to see them. You can go to the link down below. It's also in the description for you. If you pull any amazing ONIT cards, some nice autos, some low-numbered parallels, some case hits,
share them with us. We'll share them with the community and get a polls of the week started here on the channel. So if you want to be a part of that, hit the link in the description. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. Hope you enjoy your day. Very happy holidays. Hope you have a happy new year, and we'll see you in 2026 with a full recap of everything that went down over the course of this week. Have a great day. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you later.